Well, happy Friday to everybody. Scott Roberts here and Jerry Hubble. We're here at Explore Scientific, of course, but not in the showroom like I said we were going to be. And the reason for that is that in fact, the rest of our team is in there shooting another live video for salespeople. So everybody's gone virtual, I guess, and so
It's always something, and it's
always
something going on.
God, so. But I did promise that we would talk more about the Explore Scientific ED-APOs. So I had this on my desk for a little while. This one that I want to show you is the ED 115 FPL 53. And it's just an amazing scope. This is 632 millimeters of focal length. It's got a great big 3-inch rack and pinion focuser on it, and
Well, that's a big focuser. That
it
thing
is
is
a big
honking
focuser
big.
for this little
Yeah.
telescope, isn't it? But it's meant to get really wide fields, and
Get a big chip camera. Big chip camera.
big chip camera. That's right. And so it's a beautiful system, carbon fiber tube, fully baffled, and just a spectacular scope all the way around. Again, we've got the handle on it. Whoops.
That can happen sometimes. It'll
Yeah,
rotate around.
you got to tighten it up.
Yeah.
Right? right?
Yeah.
I got a big old eyepiece on it too. This is a 40 millimeter, and um, but the focuser, the focuser has a it's rotatable. As you can see that diagonal is easily rotating, right? So something
There's a
that's cinched up correctly.
there's a feature on those diagonals too to keep it from falling out completely, even if it's loose, right? There's a
Yeah,
wedge
yeah, I'll show
type
it to you. In
slope.
fact, our eyepieces have this too. You'll see how it's kind of tapered. Let me bring that a little bit closer. You can see how it's tapered like right here, and then it's smooth. And so as the compression ring comes in, it grabs kind of a tighter area. So if your set screw comes loose, it's not going to like instantly fall out. And we've done this on our eyepieces as well.
That's yeah, that's a feature that maybe many people don't understand or don't get. That's a design detail that's really attention to detail on this to help you keep from having problems.
Right, right. And we didn't want to. Some people cut a channel. It's like a really sharp channel that goes in and makes a groove. But that's problematic too because if you don't get the set screw all the way out and then you like pull on it, you can it'll grab the side of the set screw and then yank your telescope. So we didn't want that either. We wanted a nice smooth slide off if you were going to do that. So every Explore Scientific eyepiece has that. Our diagonals have this, so it's a and I've seen this on other brands of product as well. So it's not like a brand new idea, but it is something I thought worked out very well. We had we did have kind of a conference though where we talked about eyepiece design at one point. This was a long time ago before we did things online like this, and we had a lot of people chime in saying that they wanted a straight barrel, just something perfectly smooth, perfectly straight. But these kinds of little things change all the time what astronomers want. So and so far, I mean, you guys can tell me it's good to check in with people who are using our gear to see, are we still doing the right thing? So, but let's talk a little bit about who's visiting us today. So
Mm-hmm.
got we've got James the astrophotographer who says, "Happy Friday, everybody. Might have to get back to work. Waiting for a showing of one of the properties I manage." Well, good luck to you. Dusty Haskins says, "At Explore Scientific, I made sure to reshare it today." Thank you very much, Dustin. That's great, man. Chuck Stoss says, "Hello." Wolfgang says, "Good evening from Germany. Happy Friday." Um, Ken Noble liked the intro. It was kind of epic, wasn't it? But JPL and NASA and we're in a golden age of astronomy and discovery, and it's been going on for decades now. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
cool. We're lucky to be alive. Bergman Scooter says good day. Mike Wiesner is watching, says hello. Um, Bortel, Bortello? I can't, but it says Massachusetts. He says hello, and we open with some very nice imagery here. Yeah, thanks for watching. He's watching on Twitch. Um, uh, Wolfgang says it's cloudy and we had heavy rain today. And James the astrophotographer says Explore Scientific is epic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Solar System Imaging. I'm not sure who this is, but he says hello, guys. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in. Chalk says came to a dark sky area for the weekend and clouds have come storming in all weekend. Still hoping for some clearance. What I would advise for you, Chalks, is just, to watch for a break in the clouds or something. I have been out, I'll tell you guys a story. Okay, this goes back to Halley's Comet back in, 85, 86. And there was I might have told the story before. If I have, you're just going to have to listen to it again. But okay, so there was a time, I'm following Halley's Comet every day, and this is back during the time when I work at what was called Oceanside Photographic Center. Okay, and I brought in telescopes. I was the manager of the store at that time, and we do more and more business to the point where we changed the name to Oceanside Photo and Telescope. You know that store today is OPT, and you can see them at optcorp.com. Um, but anyways, we were getting to the point where it was going to be Halley's Comet from our area, from the southern part of the United States, was going to be the best it was going to be ever. And I had a Coulter 13-inch Dobsonian, big sonotube, wooden base, all the rest of it. And I had an old Saab 96 car. I don't know if you guys know what the old Saab 96s look like. They look like stretched out VW bugs, okay? And the way I would carry this telescope, because you couldn't put it inside the car, I had surf racks up on top of my car, and I would strap down this tube up on top of it, and it looked like a jet-assisted takeoff device or something. I mean, people would be like
That's wild.
honking their horns, it's aiming up at me and stuff.
You strapped on rocket engines on top
Right.
of the car.
Yeah. So I put the mirror, because you had to take the mirror out. I put the mirror in the car, put the base in the car. I only had a couple of eyepieces at that time. Who knew I would have a whole line of eyepieces? And I'm driving out to a site where I think I will see the comet. I don't know why I think I'm going to see the comet, because it's raining, okay? My telescope is up on top getting drenched, okay? And I'm not talking about a little bit of rain. It was pretty heavy rain. And I get out, it's still raining. I put the mirror into the scope, it's still raining. The water is going down my tube, water's getting on the mirror, water's on my eyepieces. I'm drying it off and everything. And I'm standing out there and waiting and waiting. There's a couple other people that are crazy enough to go out with me, okay? And I swear to God, Jerry, this is a true story. I get the telescope all set up. It's getting darker, okay? I turn on my Telrad, and there's water running down the Telrad and everything.
Oh, man.
And the clouds part.
Really?
The comet's right there, okay?
Oh, that's nuts.
Yeah. I get like 10 minutes of comet viewing in. Clouds come back up. Rains harder. We're done. I'm thrilled. I'm soaked to the bone, okay? But anyways.
That's worth the effort.
It was worth the effort. And it was fun, and it makes a great story. But
yeah.
But anyhow, sometimes astronomy, and my friends in the UK know this, different parts of the United States, we don't get a lot of clear skies sometimes, but you just have to make the effort, and sometimes you're rewarded by things like that. So, so that's it. But
yep.
But the ED115 5.5, great astrograph system, and we'll show another ED airspace triplet on Monday. But
so that 115 is 4.5 inches.
Yeah,
us right. Us Americans, right?
Yes,
since we don't like
Americans.
Since we don't like the metric system. Although I'm used.
It's weird. We use the metric system for some things,
Right.
And
exactly.
English, whatever.
I think astrophotography, for the most part, people talk metric system. For visual use, though, a lot of people talk inches for telescopes.
Right.
But yeah, that's cool.
You'll see, like, Dobsonians, for example. This is really prevalent in Dobsonians. No matter where they are sold in the world, even where they use the metric system, they'll say this is a 10-inch or a 16-inch.
Right.
Right. They won't say, oh, it's a 500 millimeter or a 300 millimeter. They won't measure it like that. I don't know why. It's just the common parlance of the Dobsonian class or something,
I've got a weird thing where I when people say the size of a telescope, it's 6-inch or 8-inch or 12-inch, whatever it is, I immediately understand what they're talking about. But when you talk about focal length in inches, I have to scratch my head because I'm so used to focal length in millimeters. I understand millimeters.
Aperture all the time in inches, and you instantly get a picture of what it is, right?
Right. So what's 36 inches in focal length? What the heck is that?
Yeah. old photographers, use like view cameras and stuff, because I used to do that a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I had an 8x10 view camera and a 4x5 view camera. The old photographers would talk about focal length sometimes in inches. But as the better lenses came about from Europe, they were in millimeters, so
Yeah.
camera, photographers now always talk about in millimeter focal length, very common.
Right.
If you had
Right.
a, if you had a 35 millimeter camera with a 2-inch lens, people look at you like, what?
Yeah.
At a 50 millimeter lens, they go, oh, that's a
Right.
normal lens.
Right.
It's a normal
Mm-hmm.
focal length.
Right. Right. That's funny how we get used to certain measurements
So
when
why,
we're dealing with things.
the answer to, you probably do know this answer, Jerry. But why did they call a 50 millimeter lens normal on a 35 millimeter camera, film camera?
Well, what I learned early on when I was starting into photography is that a 50 millimeter lens was normal because that was the normal field of view that your eyes had. That's initially what I was thinking it was, and that's what I was, what I learned was that. That's probably not quite right, but the normal camera or the normal view with a 35 millimeter film size and a 50 millimeter lens presented a view of, I don't know what the angle is, but what, 60-degree,
Mm-hmm.
80
But
degree field of
try.
view,
I mean,
something
if
like
I
that.
hold my hands out, if you hold your hands out and look straight ahead and bring them in to where you can see your fingertips, that's about
Uh-huh.
120 degrees,
Yeah, right, right.
right? See,
Yep.
50 millimeter lens on a 35 millimeter
No,
camera wasn't getting 120 degrees. What
no,
it is
no.
it's zero magnification or near zero magnification.
Oh, on the plate scale, on the.
Yeah, on the plate
Oh, I
scale.
see.
So
Okay,
what
that
you do
makes
is you
sense.
take the diagonal measure of the sensor or the film. And on
Mm-hmm.
35 millimeter film, it was 47 millimeters.
Okay, that makes
All
sense.
right. And if you used a 50 millimeter lens at 47, it would give you like a zero magnification effect. Okay.
Right, right.
200 millimeter lens is about a 4 power. Right. So,
I see. Okay, that
right.
makes sense. No, I never really knew that.
Yeah. And so
Mm.
there was a question. There's the Explore Scientific Users Group, which a guy named J.N. Furman, he was the admin guy on there. In fact, they just ran a contest where somebody won one of our 20 millimeter eyepieces on there. Um, he um, there was a guy that had that very question, but I don't think that astronomers measure field width like that. They do. They like to plate solve today, and then they use degrees, actual chunk of field of view of the sky.
Right, and we deal with plate scale.
Right.
And we call it plate scale today, even though we don't really have plate because the original astrophotographs were glass plates.
Right.
So when you say plate solve, you ask, where's the plate? What is a plate? And it's because the old glass plates that we took images on back starting a couple hundred years ago, or however long ago it was.
Mm-hmm. So, well, that's just some little tidbits. There's a
Hmm.
lot of similarity between what photographers do and what astronomers do. Astronomers are, in my mind, all using telephoto lenses, pretty much. So um,
Well, that's kind of an interesting thing because you always think about these multi-element lenses that have 6, 8 elements in them. You wonder, are they really that much better than telescopes? Telescopes are pretty darn good in terms of flatness
oh,
and
they're usually
focusing and
way
stuff.
better than camera lenses are.
Well, see, that's really odd to me because why wouldn't you make a simple 3 or 4 element camera lens that performs really well instead of having the 6 or 8 elements? I know there's barrel distortion and other kinds of distortions that they try to correct, but
Those are the same distortions we correct in astronomy too. So
why does it take 6, 8, 12 elements in some lenses to do that?
because they most camera lenses, or a lot of popular lenses, are zoom lenses. And so they're concerned with getting that field illumination with at different focal lengths, and they try to go for the extreme ranges of focus.
I see.
So that those are kind of the couple of constraints of camera lenses. But if
Hmm.
in effect, you can take when I first started working at OPT, I would take a any telephoto lens. I'd just take one off of a camera, and then I would take an eyepiece and I would hold the camera lens and the eyepiece back and forth until you could see it sharply. Now, I did this as demonstration for our customers because when I first started selling telescopes, my audience was photographers. And they go, well, I know all about camera lenses and stuff, but I don't know anything about telescopes. And I go, actually, you do. You just don't know it yet. So,
Hmm.
and so I would show them that if you took the focal length of that 200 millimeter lens and you divide it by this 10 millimeter eyepiece, you would have 20 magnification. So just you know for example, but it was a lot of fun, and I was in those years still learning a lot about telescopes and astronomy. And
Hmm.
I've mentioned before, I would like to go back and have that whole experience all over again. Um, but anyways,
That
Ken,
would be kind of an interesting adapter to build the eyepiece to camera lens adapter,
yeah,
like a 2-inch
there,
eyepiece
were, there
adapter
was
for
a
a lens.
company or two that actually made adapters that were a right angle diagonal that would
Oh
snap
yeah,
onto a camera lens, and then you could throw in an inch and a quarter eyepiece.
huh? That'd be kind of cool.
And it just didn't take off. So I don't know why.
Hmm.
I don't know why. Ken Noble says, I'm glad that question can no longer be used in the ES sweepstakes for the 1 year anniversary. Maybe it'll be a trick and I do ask that question. We'll just see how
Yeah,
your
right,
memory is. Okay.
right, exactly. See how many paid attention.
That's right. That's right. Anyways, I kind of forgot to throw up the chat widget that I've been using in the last couple of shows, but it's fun for you guys to see the chats as well.
Oh, I see it up there on the
Yeah, maybe
on.
here I'll put it. Yeah, I'll leave it right there because we're going to focus on you here in a minute. But today you wanted to talk about auto guiding and the telescope drive master. Now we've talked about these things before, but
I wanted to get into a little detail about how the telescope drive master works and show you a program that I wrote quite a while ago called the Telescope Drive Master TE Recorder. So it gives you a graph similar to what PhD2 gives. And I'm on the observatory right now. Over the last 2 or 3 days, we've been having a couple of issues with the router at the observatory, so hopefully it won't knock me off. But I'm going to share my screen now. And
okay.
so do you see it?
Yep.
All right, so I basically have the telescope pointed to a random object in the sky. Actually, it's pointed at, oh, I don't know what that is. I don't know why it disconnected. Let me reconnect the chart. So I'm focused on beta. Oh, I don't know what it's doing. Let me get off of that. It's always something. The chart, right when I go to show the chart, of course, it starts acting up.
That's
Oh,
right.
there it's back again. I don't know. It doesn't know where we're at. Let
Okay.
me go back. Track telescope. All right, there it is, right there. So Beta Leo. What star is that? Is that
Yeah. Okay. Here.
what's the name of that star? That's a question for people.
It's called Beta Leonis. There you go.
Well, what's the name of it?
What's my name for it, or was the real name for it?
What's the name? What's the real name for it besides Beta Leonis?
Is that the question of the day?
Maybe.
Okay.
Let's make it the question of the day.
All right. It's the question of
What's the common name for Beta Leonis? And there's my dogs.
the. It's the dog star.
The dog star.
Okay, first answer is Denebula. Second answer is Denebula. Astrobeard says, I better get a drool towel. We have a
I think
correct
it.
answer yet?
I think it's Denebula.
Third answer is Denebula.
Yeah, see, it's down here. Down here, it's Denebula.
Oh,
That's
there we
right. So
go.
whoever got it first
Whoever
wins a
got it
prize.
first. So that was Dave Ing.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. Dave's really fast on this stuff.
He is, man. I think he's got Google up like already, and he's just like,
Yeah.
you know, Mike
So that's where
Wisner.
I'm
Mike
pointed,
Wisner,
even though
slow on the draw. Denebula.
Denebula.
All right. Yeah.
So that's what if you look at the photo of the scope, you see that's where it looks like it's pointing at where it is right now in my sky, which is high overhead.
Yeah.
But what I want to show you is this little black box here. See the little flashing light on it?
Yeah.
That's the telescope drive master controller box. And this light is an LED series that flashes back and forth to indicate whether it's fast or slow, whether the speed is fast or slow. And that's what I'm showing here also on this chart. Whether it's the tracking error is plus or minus a fraction of an arc second, basically. And the encoder is right here. I don't know if you can see this. It's kind of a cylindrical looking thing with a round end.
With the wire coming
That's
out the side.
with the wire coming out of it right here. That's the right ascension encoder that has a shaft into the RA axis that measures the rate.
Sure.
That's a high resolution incremental encoder that measures to 0.125 arc seconds resolution.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about almost 9 million. It's almost 10 million counts per revolution, but it's a rate encoder. It's not an absolute encoder. So it just knows whether you're fast or slow, basically, is what it is. And that's what we're measuring here with this chart, is whether the rate is fast or slow with the telescope drive master. So one of the things with the telescope drive master, it acts just like a camera in that when you connect up to it, it's like in PhD2 when you connect up to a camera and you lock on a star and it sends back commands back to the mount, the pulses to go north, south, east, or west on an auto-guiding scope. This does the same thing. It sends back contact closures only to east-west because all we're monitoring is the right ascension axis. So it sends pulses on the right ascension axis, just like the guide camera does to your mount on PhD2. So I want to bring up. I'm going to bring up PhD2.
No, I want to bring up something here. I recall when we first started kind of bringing out the telescope drive master that there were guys on. There was like an argument on cloudy nights of what was better, telescope drive master or auto guiding,
Oh yeah, I had a big thread started in 2011 or 2000.
Yeah.
That started. There was a big. People didn't see the reason why you would need high resolution encoder system. It was you're just going to auto guide. Why? And it's
But
not
there was
worth
like a
the
big
effort.
argument, and I couldn't understand
Oh yeah,
what the
yeah.
friction was. What was the was it just because people had never experienced the TDM, or what was the crux of that?
Well, I think part of it was the way it was presented. So the TDM is designed to solve an issue, right? A problem.
Right.
And I'm trying to get this back down to normal size. So what issue were we trying to solve? And the issue is the same that the auto guiding solved was a periodic error in your mount.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the features of the Telescope Drive Master, which is the reason to get it, in my opinion, the reason I bought it back then, is it's basically you put it on your mount and you turn it on and you forget it.
Yeah.
You don't worry about looking at the sky or camera system, and because when you monitor a star in the sky, you have a problem in that you might have some clouds, high clouds. You might lose the lock on the star, and at that point your auto guiding stops working, and then you start getting bad subframes. There's always something to
Oh,
watch,
yeah,
you know,
that's true.
when the sky is changing, or if it happens to be changing. Now, some of the things that people don't quite, when they argue this, they don't quite understand that 90 to 95% of the people that buy this equipment and do astrophotography are in backyards. They're not on top of mountains. They're not in Arizona. You know, you have to cater to this larger group of people and make tools that are effective for them. It's not good enough to say, well, this is good enough because you have Arizona skies and you're not really have a problem. You never have a problem. That's not the case at all.
Not
You
true.
need to you need to solve problems and
Yeah.
provide solutions for people that are in backyards, that are everyday people that don't spend thousands of hours like I do doing this stuff, you know.
Right.
They only can spend maybe a few hours a week learning it and using it. So in that regard, you know, people don't understand that. Why would you want this? You know, and that's the reason. One of the things, it saves you time. You turn this thing on; it's intrinsic to the mount. It's independent of the sky, so you can forget about it. That's one thing. That was the biggest thing for me, and is a big time saver
Mm-hmm.
because I want to concentrate on my images and the object that I'm observing. I don't want to
Because there
have to
are
pay attention.
a lot of other moving parts going on, as far as
Right,
trying to get an image, and you want to make sure that you got your focus. You want to be doing, oh, for you, and especially you're doing research, right?
right.
So,
You want to concentrate on that. The other thing is the way it was presented, the way I kind of presented it also, which maybe rubs people the wrong way, is that it could turn an inexpensive mount, performance-wise, into performing like a more expensive mount, like a $8,000 or $10,000 mount.
right.
You could turn at the time I had a Skywatcher EQ6 mount, which is a $1,300 mount. Add this onto it, and it could perform like a $10,000 mount. And people didn't want to hear that.
No, no, no.
They really did not want to hear that they had invested in this nice mount. There's nothing wrong with investing with an excellent mount because, again, you're spending money to save you time, and your time is worth a lot of money, and it's worth it. It's
That's
really worth it. But again, and some people don't quite understand it. They just picture it like, I have invested in this system, I've spent a bunch of money. It's got to be better than what this guy spent a third of the cost on. It's got to be better.
okay. So Jennifer Shelley wants to know, Jerry, are you saying that the TDM is better suited for observatory use and not for a portable setup?
I would say in general, yes. That's not to say you can't use it portable, because I did for several years when I
Right.
back in
That's true.
2010 to
Yeah, you have an
2014.
observatory. Yeah.
Right. I had a portable observatory. I set it up every day. Now, it saved me time when I set up and turned it on. Again, I didn't have to pay attention to the autoguider, but you pay a little bit of price up front where you have to have a near perfect polar alignment on your system. So if you're very comfortable with getting an excellent polar alignment, which people are today because they use tools like the Pole Master to get that.
Or they use what's the software again that you take a couple of pictures in the sky and I guess
SharpCap,
SharpCap.
SharpCap, yeah,
Yeah, it has.
SharpCap has a tool. Yeah, so if you can get an excellent polar alignment with SharpCap, then the Telescope Drive Master will save you even more time and effort without, it's more suited to observatories, polar alignment like we have on our observatory,
Yeah.
but you can use a portable, and I did it for several years.
Right.
So I wanted to
I just
bring up
got the link for
PhD2.
SharpCap so they could see.
Hmm.
Okay. You want to show something on your?
Well, so I don't know why this is bombing out. Anyway, so the way you set it up on the Telescope Drive Master, you basically it uses the ST4 cable interface onto your mount. Okay. It doesn't have an ASCOM driver. It's a standalone device. Okay, so you have to use the ST4 cable into your mount to do the guiding, and it only corrects for right ascension, but it also has another port on it to where you can uh, plug the ST4 cable from your camera into the box, and it passes through the declination corrections from your camera. So if you don't have a perfect polar alignment, you can actually use it still, and it will pass through the declination commands into your mount from your camera system from PhD2. So that's the difference. So for PhD2, which I've got shown here, you would select your camera, whatever it happens to be. I'm just gonna, this isn't gonna turn on. I don't have a way to show it operational really right now, but because there's no stars up for one thing. I don't know why it's locked up now. Oh, it looks like my
Locked up because you want to show it.
that's right. It looks like, yep. So look, so it just bombed out. Let me see if it'll let me log on. I had a feeling this was
Good
gonna.
thing that this didn't happen when you discovered that exoplanet when we did the live.
Yeah, right, exactly. So again, the gateway seems like it has failed on me.
That has been happening to you a little bit, hasn't it?
The last 2 or 3 days, that's right. So what I'm gonna do is I've got to get back on there because right now it's in the middle of tracking and I've got to get back on it. So while this waits to do it bombed out on the connection. So while I wait this to restart,
Yeah.
let me show the website for the Telescope Drive Master from Attila Madai.
Okay.
Let's see. It's
And I put up a link earlier where they could see the TDMs on our site as well.
okay, good.
Ex FBI lawyer intends.
I'm trying to.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Siri, you don't need to understand. Siri's always butting in on my life.
So his website is MDA-Telescoop with
Telescoop.
two O's.
Telescoop.
Telescoop,
Yeah.
which is a co-op. I guess he formed it like a co-op thing. I don't know what his plans were, but this is the website,
Yeah.
and I'm going to zoom up on it so we can see some things that are going on. And
There you go. That's better. That's readable. There's a couple
yeah,
of
so
questions here, Jerry. Let
mhm.
me let's go over this a little bit. Dave Ing makes a comment. He says the Drive Master might be the answer for me shooting through the streetlight in my backyard. That's true. That's true. It wouldn't. Your auto guider's not going to get blown out when it goes if you have.
Right, no, right, exactly.
Dave wants to. He also wants to know: can you dither with the TDM engaged?
Uh, no, so auto guiding only works on the deck axis. When
Right.
you use the camera coupled with the Telescope Drive Master, the Drive Master takes control of the right ascension axis, so there's no way to dither in right ascension. I guess theoretically you could dither in declination axis, but I don't know. I've always been a little confused about. Of course, I'm not into pretty picture imaging, so I don't know how it improves that. But I've always been. I've not researched it very much. I'm a little confused about exactly what dithering does for you and what it actually does. So maybe that's a topic of discussion another time.
We'll research that a little bit. And then Jennifer wants to know, Jerry, does the TDM eliminate the need for auto guiding? Basically,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
sure.
that's right. It certainly does. I want to see if there's some pictures here. I'm trying to find out. Okay, here's a good picture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you can see the whole thing. One more time.
Jennifer says dithering helps combat walking noise.
Walking noise. That's some common mode noise, some systematic noise that you get in the image. Is what I'm, based on what she just said, that's kind of what I think she's referring to.
Dusty
There are some.
said I accidentally clicked the link and sat there for a while thinking it was Jerry just sharing his screen. That's right.
So if
Be
you
waiting
look
there for a
here,
while.
say that again.
I said he's going to be waiting there for a while.
Yeah, it'll be a while. So this kind of shows you how the telescope drive master works. With your telescope, this inner loop here is the right ascension loop. So you've got the encoder, which creates a signal.
Okay.
And then it comes into the box and it interprets the signal and creates a pulse auto-guiding input signal to pulse it east or west. And then that feeds back into your right ascension axis. So in terms of the motor, okay?
Okay.
So it speeds up and slows down your motor to keep, and this is a crystal controlled oscillator within the telescope drive master that has a very accurate sidereal clock. So it, based on that clock, it knows whether the gear is fast or slow is what it's based on. Now the guide scope is an optional thing. You can add a guide scope input for declination that will pass through and goes to your PC, or goes through the TDM output. Actually, the deck axis goes through the TDM output here also for the declination axis into the telescope mount controller. That's how it goes. That's through the ST4 cable, is what this is. Okay.
Okay.
Now there's the program I was showing you before uses this USART output. That's just basically a serial port that connects to the PC to record the data off of the controller and shows you whether. So I take the raw signal off the box and interpret that and display it as a graph on my program, just like the PhD2 does. So this is basically how it's hooked up. There's some other. One of the things about the TDM is that you've got adapters, okay? You've got a shaft encoder adapter for the thing that you have to specify for each of the different mounts, and we sell several of those different adapters. Let's see if I can. I thought there was a picture that shows Galaxy. Let's see, reference shots. I think it's under Tools and Documents, Installation Guides. All right, so here's, let's say you have a Celestron mount, a CGEM.
Okay.
This is what the encoder shaft looks like. And you have some covers, and this is the encoder, and there's a better picture of it. So what you would do is you basically remove the cover, and this is the one thing to keep in mind. This will get rid of any polar alignment scope that you might have that's mounted inside the RA axis.
That's right.
So that encoder
encoder dust.
Yeah, that encoder shaft screws into the same hole that the polar scope screwed into. I can't. I always have to do something to make it.
Yeah, you're ruining the show.
I tried to breathe when I'd take that drink of water. That's what it
Oh my
was.
God.
So here's
You're okay,
the
right?
shaft. It's mounted
Okay,
in the
here we go.
RA axis. Do you have a question?
No, no question. Okay, I'm
And
teasing you, Barry. I'm teasing
so
you.
that's a very precision piece of equipment. So you'll go on our website and you'll wonder, why does this cost so much? Because we're talking about microns here
Mm-hmm.
in terms of tolerances and being able to get this precise rate measurement correct. It's like a laboratory instrument in some regards. This encoder system, and you can see how big it is.
Yeah.
But that's how it mounts on the end of the shaft.
And it assembles pretty fast. I've done
Right.
assembly myself a couple of times on different mounts, and it's about, I don't know, 20 minutes to
20
assemble,
minutes. That's
something
kind
like
of what
that.
I was thinking. 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's right. When I first put it on my,
And
you
that's
remember
not
that
even
back
me
in when I
being
bought it
familiar
from
with
you.
it, not reading the instructions as I often
Yeah,
delegate,
right.
so.
So let me show you what it looks like on the G11 in our
Okay.
observatory. It's basically the same encoder, but you have this kind of a mounting system. You have to you have to have this bridge, and I'll show you in a minute what that is, to bridge around the clutch on the RA axis because it's got a different type of clutch system on the deck. So I don't know if that's clear. So right there, that gives you an idea. So this is the big mounting adapter, okay? But you have to make clearance for this clutch so that you can loosen the shaft.
Right.
That's why it's different looking than the other mounts might be.
And there's that pin that you have to put in there too.
Right. There's a pin, which is an index pin for the encoder to
Mm-hmm.
be tied up against. There's the shaft being inserted. And then you've got this thing with this pin that goes into the encoder. This is a little slot that pin goes into.
Mm-hmm.
And you put it in. And so it basically slides on. Then you loosen up. There's a really thin aluminum sheath or tube that you basically tighten up with these set screws that grips the shaft. Okay, and that's what they're tightening up here. That's tightening that sleeve up against the shaft so that it's really a tight, real high precision fixture. There's no wobble. There's virtually no wobble in this thing when it turns.
Yeah, it's amazing. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
coupler and everything that's
Right.
uh,
When you get it, you see why it's as much money as it is, because it really is a precision instrument that is almost like a laboratory instrument.
yeah.
And this is what it looks like on the end. That's a cylinder when the cover. It's a nice aluminum,
Not
anodized
necessary,
aluminum
but it's
cover.
a cosmetic cover. Yeah.
Yep, yep. It's very sturdy. It's basically the same material that the rest of the mount is made from, so it matches it very well. So let me go to some of the. Let's see if this has reference shots. So let me show you. They've got some stuff here.
So Wolfgang wants to know, does the TDM also run without a PC?
Yes, it's standalone. It's completely standalone. You don't have to have a PC at all. It just plugs in and you forget it. It's just like it's intrinsic to your mount.
Yeah. So
So,
Noble says, I guess this will not fit an IXS 100. That's true. It does not.
all right. So this is what Attila did is he recorded a star image with a program similar to the PhD2. This is called CCD Tools. It's an auto guiding system, also just like PhD2, that he recorded some images. I'm trying to see what he's looking at here. I'm going to zoom up some more.
The answers about dithering are coming through here.
Okay,
Basically, the answer is that it moves the mount around
right,
to, so if you have hot pixels, for example, or cosmic ray events or whatever, um, I guess it's for hot pixels really. Without dithering, the hot pixel will be the same spot in every sub, but
right.
dithering moves that around, and so you can remove that, uh, you know, with the subtraction, I guess.
I guess it. What I typically do with hot pixels and satellites and stuff like that that comes through individual frames, there's a couple ways to stack the images. One is if you're going to sum the images, then yes, you don't want to keep summing on the hot pixels in the same location.
Right.
But there's a thing called median combine
Oh, right.
that that takes care of that. It gets rid of the extreme pixels um, on individual shots, and so it's kind of like averaging, except it's not. It's median, and that is what I've always used to get rid of hot pixels and satellite trails and stuff like that. But I can understand that dithering, you'd still have to remove those hot pixels. If you're summing, if you're summing or averaging the images, then yeah, averaging would diminish those pixels quite a bit
Sure.
because they're moved around. That's correct. I'm trying to see what he's talking about. Um, See, I think he's looking at what polar alignment, what the need for polar alignment is. You can see here on this chart that you've got drift due to polar misalignment.
Right.
And so you'll get that over time. But a perfect alignment allows you to get basically the corrected PE correction, and you can see how tight the star is there. So this is demonstrating the need for polar alignment. So even with the telescope drive master, you see how you get a blobby smeared star?
Yeah.
That's because you don't have a good polar alignment, and it'll drift in declination.
Sure.
Let's see what else we got. Reference users.
I used to be blobby and smeared myself,
Blobby and smeared, yeah, blobby.
but I started changed my diet and I'm better now. So
I've got I wrote a test report that I'll bring up real quick. I did this back in 2011. That's when I first bought the TDM. And you can see even then I was pretty anal about doing stuff. And this is what I think I got Scott's attention when I was talking to him about this.
yeah.
So this is a picture of when I was installing mine on my EQ6 mount. I talk about the testing, but I wanted to show you what it looks like. I discovered some stuff with the firmware. Even treating it like a black box, I was doing recording the data, and I determined something that I was able to give feedback to Attila Madai and to do a correction on the firmware. But I wanted to show this last chart. Okay. This is a good example of what the telescope drive master could do for you.
Right.
This is what my EQ6 mount looked like. You can see the PE is quite substantial. It's plus or minus 15 to 20. This is not too bad here. This is about plus or minus. Actually, peak to peak is about 15 to 20. 20, I think. Minus 5 to plus 15 here on this particular sample. So it's 20 arc seconds peak to peak. Okay, I let it record for a while, and then I turned on the telescope drive master. And there's a couple of settings you can do on the telescope drive master. One is the frequency of update, and what the control algorithm precision is. So I set it to 1 hertz corrections, one correction per second, at plus or minus 1 arc second. And you can see here, this is the kind of motion you get now. All right, this shows you it's about 1 plus or minus 1 arc second peak to peak. Okay. Now when I turned on at a 5 hertz correction rate, which it can capture these changes really quick, at a plus or minus half an arc second correction, you can see how it just quiets down. Very quiet.
Oh man.
And on the G11, I'm getting tracking error down to about 0.3 to 0.35 arc seconds RMS, which is what this is. This is showing about a half to 0.6 arc seconds on the EQ6 mount. So that's what you can get on this thing. Let me see if I can start up my observatory again. I think that thing's probably done resetting. Nope. Golly, I don't know what the heck. That's frustrating.
This is why you still, on top of a remote observatory, you need to have someone that can get to the observatory.
That's right.
That's right. Things
mess up.
They mess up. That's right. And you got to figure them out. You can make it. Right. But your observatory, as I've mentioned before, is pretty productive. You guys have a lot of uptime.
Yeah, we do. We basically use it every clear night that we have.
Yeah.
It hasn't been good for the last couple of years, but back in 2017, I think it was.
Yeah.
We had over 200 nights we were able to observe. Now we try to observe, even if it's not perfectly cloudless. We take advantage of nights where there's scattered clouds and we can do some work. A lot of the work that I do, the science work, it doesn't require perfect skies at all, which is kind of nice because it gives me more opportunity. And I observe when there's a full moon, when a lot of people don't. One thing I can suggest to people, if you really want to get into this hobby, really try to take advantage of every night that you have where you can see stars. Don't wait for perfect nights because you'll be waiting forever.
Forever.
Literally. I mean, it's really, and it slows your learning down.
People who do, they wait for perfection all the time.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many, I've belonged to many astronomy clubs, gone to, I don't know how many star parties in my life, but I would be talking to people and they were going, oh, it's not even worth it. It's not even worth dragging my telescope out for this,
Yeah.
And, they miss a lot of stuff. I mean,
well, and you miss the opportunity to teach yourself something new also.
Right.
The more you're on the system, the more you remember stuff, the more you work with your equipment, the less problem it's going to be when a perfect night comes along.
Yeah.
You really need to train and practice on the not perfect nights so that when the perfect night comes along, you have no problems with your equipment.
Right. That's right. It's muscle memory. Mike Wiesner wanted to know, what is the x-axis on your chart? Is it seconds?
Yes, it was seconds. Let me go back to that.
Jerry, does the TDM take control of the voltage and rated frequencies being sent to the stepper motor?
No, that's all managed with the control system on the PMC-8. It's a little higher level signal than that. Basically, it's a simple matter. The auto guiding signal from a camera, from PhD2 and from the TDM are two values. You have a direction value and you have a pulse time. Okay.
Okay.
And then the other thing that's involved is the guide rate. Okay. So there's three parameters that tell you how to correct the position. whether it's based on a star position or it's based on the encoder telling you where it needs to go. The direction, the pulse width, and the rate. So basically, the amount you move is the rate times the pulse width in time. So the rate is set as arc seconds per second, and you multiply that by seconds, and you get arc seconds. So you get an arc second motion based on the pulse.
Right.
So, for example, if on the default on the PMC8 system, I set it to 0.4 times the sidereal rate. Okay, basically it's based on the sidereal rate in terms of the rate that you set, and which is equal to 6 arc seconds per second. Okay, so every time you pulse at 1 second, it would move 6 arc seconds. Okay, but of course most of the motion is much smaller than 6 arc seconds, so it's going to be a fraction of a second that you pulse. So let's say it's 0.6 arc seconds. Let's say you take a measurement and you're 0.6 arc seconds off the target location. You say, oh, I need to move it back 0.6 arc seconds. Okay, I'm going to move it 0.1 seconds. That's the pulse time because I know my rate is equal to 6. So you take 0.1 times 6, that's equal to 0.6 arc second motion. So that's how it works.
Excellent. Well, Jerry, we've run on about an hour now.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. There's
yeah.
a lot to learn about this stuff, and I could go on for more hours, but I'm not going to bore everybody with that. But I think you get the gist of what it does.
Right.
I think you do.
There's a question. Let's see. Oh, a suggestion. Wade Prunty. Maybe you guys do this at the observatory. I don't know, but he says you need network-connected power receptacles in your observatory so you can remotely power cycle any piece of equipment.
We have that. We already have that. And in this case, I know the problem is with the router, but we do have a web power switch in the observatory, so we can do that remotely, power it up and power it down. And as long as we can get to the network through the router, then that's absolutely a fundamental thing that you need. So I talk about that in my book, Remote Observatories for Amateur Astronomers. I don't know if you have it there, but that I go into all that stuff, power systems and observatory equipment. But yes, you're correct. You need a remote power switch to power up equipment.
Right. Wolfgang says, when I looked at our observatory's 16-inch MEAD SCT to the middle of Andromeda Galaxy, I was disappointed. I saw only a white dot.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why you need to get into astrophotography.
That's what a lot of people see when beginners look at deep sky objects.
Yeah.
They're trying to see what you're seeing, and that doesn't look like the picture.
No.
It's a little faint, fuzzy blob.
It does take very dark. If you have very dark, very, very transparent skies, you can see the spiral arms even in 6-inch and 8-inch telescopes. But you need to be at real low powers too. If you're in suburban skies or you have a lot of air turbulence, not turbulence, but moisture in the air, then that drops your transmission of the transparency of the sky. So there's actually maps and stuff that I found online that can kind of determine what the transparency is going to be like at a given time. So, but on any account, you can definitely see it. It's how, if you got a good Milky Way galaxy, you're seeing lots of details in the Milky Way by naked eye. You can get a excellent view of Andromeda. I can tell you that for sure. A 16, and I've used that telescope, can really give some spectacular results. So, Dave Ing says, when I first got my scope, I was so excited to see M31 and M42. Showed my wife, and she said, "Yeah, I see a smudge." Yeah, it's the smudge of light that's
Yeah.
fossil light. So
You got to realize that's the thing. The astronomers appreciate that little smudge of light because they know what it is. That's the
yeah,
big thing. You learn. Part of the hobby is learning what you're looking at, not just looking at stuff because they're pretty.
yeah,
That's really what astronomy is about. Understanding what you're seeing.
right. Gary Palmer says that's why astrophotographers get hooked on cameras over eyepieces. It's true. It's true. I like both. I love both. Um, well, I think the last thing that I wanted to talk about today was we have a 7 o'clock Central show. It's going to be 5 p.m. Pacific. So it's coming up here real quick in a couple of hours. We have Vivian White from the Astronomical Society of the Pacific and Shannon Schmuel, Dr. Shannon Schmuel from Abrams Planetarium. And they are going to be talking about big astronomy. And it's really the story of how science gets done at the Cerro Tololo Observatory, CTIO. I've been at that facility. It is a very, very busy place.
That's
And
cool.
so it's kind of the story of the entire support structure, all the way from the people who prepare the meals for the astronomers to maintenance people to keep these big observatories running. So as they unlock the secrets of the universe. So it's really cool. Shannon and Vivian both are very much involved in inclusiveness in astronomy, especially when it relates to women and girls in science. And I recently got invited by Vivian to be in a webinar, special webinar for inclusiveness for girls in astronomy. And if you're interested in that kind of thing, let me know, and I will forward your information over to Vivian, and they will get in touch with you because this program's coming up here pretty quick. So I have daughters. I love science. Why wouldn't I want more girls involved in astronomy? I think that, and to share something with you, I think some of the very best astronomers in the world are women. So there you go.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
Scientists, just scientists in general, in
Scientists
nuclear
in
field.
general. Yeah, good Lord.
Hmm.
And it's been a struggle over the years for them to get the recognition that they deserve and the pay they deserve and all of that.
Right.
So, right,
Right. In nuclear, Marie Curie, she's
right,
a big name
right. Oh, what was
in
the door
nuclear.
prize? What did I win? So
Oh, I guess we didn't decide
we
what we gave
decided what it
out.
was going to be. We gave away binoculars yesterday.
We have those. We gave those little things out too. The refractive grating, or the diffraction grating, and the little NASA
Right, those are
cards.
both gone. I only
Oh,
have two of them.
Oh, you only
Right.
had two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it should be another pair of binoculars.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Those are very nice binoculars.
yeah.
That's
Uh,
you're
it will.
pretty generous, Scott.
Jennifer says Scott is a feminist at heart. You know why, Jennifer? Because my mother was a feminist. So it was the '70s. It was women's lib and all the rest of it. She was a single mom at the time and raising two kids, me and my sister. And so I definitely respect the struggle for sure. That's why. Um, well, that's it. And Dave, send in your email to kent@explorescientific.com. And congratulations. So we'll give you a little applause. Right. Or a bigger
Yeah,
applause. How about that? I like that applause.
yeah. Go on, go on.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. All right. That's right. So we want to thank everybody. Thank you very much. And we will see you tonight at 7 Central. And take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.